guys, it's Trina, and today I'm talking about more series I have quit. This is the third series I've quit video that I've done. I've done one of these at the end of each year. Also, if you are curious, in the series that I have recently finished in 2017, like on a bit more positive note, I do have a video up on that I will link below for you guys to check out if you are interested. But today I have 9 series that this year I have realized I'm not gonna finish them. I don't care anymore. A couple of these you might be able to talk me into seeing them out, but I think for the most part I need to move on to things I'm much more interested in now. So first up is a series that should have been on one of my previous lists, but it's the Maze Runner series by James Dashner. I did read the 3 main books, the Maze Runner, the Scorch Trials, and the Death Cure. I absolutely despised books 2 and 3 in that series. I just thought they didn't go anywhere. They didn't give us answers. Book 3 sets it up to give the main character, and therefore the reader, all of the answers you have ever wanted. And then he distinctly makes the main character say, nah, I'm good, no thanks. And so we just never find out any of the reasons for anything. There's 1 page of conclusion that gave us answers, and I was just like, why did I just read 3 books for 1 page of conclusion? No thank you. No. I know that there is a prequel novel that people say supposedly give you some of the answers of like setting up that world and stuff, but it doesn't follow the same characters, I believe. I just don't care about it. Not after going through all that. I don't want to read an additional book to get some more answers. I've also heard other people say it doesn't really give you all the answers and that he's about to write a new book, like a 4th book that's a direct sequel that will give you all the answers. But like at this point, it's too little too late, man. Besides that though, like I just didn't think that some of the writing was like my favorite or the strongest, and some of the characters weren't my favorite or my strongest. Like, I was reading that series for the answers, and at this point I just don't care anymore. A series that I started last year in 2017, like at the beginning of the year, that I just didn't really like it and I don't think I'm going to finish it, is a comic series. It's Monstress by Marjorie and Takeda. This is a very high fantasy comic series. To me, it was a huge story for a very small, limited format. Comic issues are very short. And even though this series had like an extended length first volume to do some of the world building required for it, I just still think that there was not enough time or room in the format to build the world that you really need to understand in this book. Now, I totally understand that, you know, some world building can and probably is going to be done in future volumes, but I just came out of the first volume of it feeling totally confused. I have definitely found that personally with comics, it's very hard, especially fantasy comics or any kind of story that has a lot of world building to do. I can't get into them with just 1 issue or 1 volume. I need to like read the entire series from start to finish at once for me to get the story. So the fact that there wasn't another volume available to me at the time, I just feel like I kind of stalled with my interest in it. I don't really have any intentions of continuing this one at the moment. Next, I have no intentions of ever continuing the Queen of the Tearling trilogy or series. I don't know how many books there are going to be in it. I did read the first book back when it came out, and I did actually really enjoy that book when I read it. I gave it a pretty high rating, but then I had to wait for the sequel, and by the time the sequel came out and I like looked back on the first book, I was like, I remember liking it, but I don't remember why. I remember that book being very long, pretty tedious, pretty slow at parts. I don't remember really what happened. Like, I barely just remember 2 or 3 of the characters, and so I just was kind of intimidated by going into the sequel at that point, and I never did. I was like, yeah, I'll just read it later at some other time. And then I think this year or last year, the 3rd book came out, and I was like, yeah, I'm just too far behind now. And I just have kind of lost interest in it. Again, I don't think that the book was bad. I just haven't been in the mood to continue this series. And another one that's kind of similar for my reasons for quitting it is the Bone Season series by Samantha Shannon. Currently, 3 books are out, and I read the first 2 of them, and I really enjoyed the first 2 of them. And I remember when I read them, like my reviews, I remember saying something like, this is the reason why I read. This story was so intricate and complex and whatever. But I remember also picking up book 2 and not really enjoying much about book 2 until the very end. So it was just like a lot to trudge through with a small amount of payoff at the end, which it was a great payoff, I really liked it, but I don't know, like when the 3rd book came out, I was just kind of like, do I really care anymore? And furthermore, I just don't really get the magic system or whatever. This is like paranormal, urban fantasy, clairvoyant, gifts, are a thing, and I just feel too dumb to kind of understand what's going on. There are so many different levels of powers and abilities, and I cannot keep them all straight. They're long. And I'm intimidated, and I feel dumb when I read this series, so no thank you. Next, I know for sure I will not be continuing the Darkest Minds trilogy by Alexandra Bracken. I enjoyed the first book, and then I started the second book this year, and I got like 150 something pages in it, and I just realized I had no idea what was happening. Things had just changed, the location and like the mission of the main character had just changed in book 2. And honestly, I had just started Never Fade after I finished Alexandra Bracken's Passenger duology, and I really didn't like the second book in that series, even though I finished that series, so it's not one that I quit. But I just discovered this year that I don't get along well with Alexandra Bracken's particular writing style. She has these amazing premises of her books, like the premises of her dystopian or of her time travel series. They sound amazing, and then her writing is just so heavily bogged down with descriptions that really slows down the pace. And so for me, for these premises, for the reasons why I pick up these books, I just need something a bit more faster paced. I just don't get along with her writing. I don't think that she's a bad writer. I think it's just a personal thing, but I just realized at this point, book 1 was good. I'm going to leave it at that. I will watch the movie adaptation when it comes out, but I don't want to continue these series. Another series I quit is the Flame and the Mist duology by Renee, and I'm quitting this one for similar reasons as the Darkest Minds, and that is just because I don't like Ahdieh's writing style. For me, for what I want out of fantasy series, I didn't really enjoy some of the writing and world building and magic system building in her The Wrath and the Dawn series, and so I picked up Flame and the Mist because I was like, I think that she has good stories to tell. Let me try something else that she's written. And in Flame of the Mist, I ran into similar problems. It's not that she's a bad writer, she's a beautiful writer, it just doesn't work for me and what I want. And I would definitely love to still read things by Renee and by Alexandra Bracken if they ever try other genres. So I'm not saying that I'm done with these authors, but these series in particular just weren't working for me. I'm also going to quit the Thousandth Floor series by Katharine McGee. I think there are going to be 3 books in this, and I read the first one this year. I gave it 3 stars. It was okay. I was planning on continuing the series because there is like a mystery element to it that I did find pretty intriguing, but then I started seeing reviews for book 2 that were saying that something potentially bad and problematic that occurred in book 1 happens again in book 2, that the author did kind of the same thing. And so knowing that this is kind of a repeat offense, I just don't really care to continue reading the series and supporting that. And, you know, besides that though, I wasn't really invested in the story or the characters. I do think that a bit of it was a bit juvenile. There was a little bit too much of like party culture and stuff, and there was this weird kind of incesty thing happening, and just like, it was okay. The first book was fine. I enjoyed it for what it was, but feeling like it's just going to continue doing some of the same things, I'm not that interested in continuing. You know, it's just, there's better books out there for me at this time. Next, I finally admitted defeat with the Red Queen series by Victoria Aveyard. I'm not going to finish it. I read the first book back when it came out, and I did enjoy the first book. And I know a lot of people like ripped it to shreds saying it's too cliche, it's like every other dystopian I've ever read. I didn't care. I enjoyed it. And so again, this is not one that I'm like hate quitting or anything. It's just that I never picked up the second book, and then I never picked up the third book, and I think like maybe there are 4 books out now, or the 4th one's about to come out, and it's just, you know, there's just other series out there that I'm more interested in. I don't think that it would be a hard read. I'm not intimidated by it, but I just think that the amount of hype that this series has gotten in both positive and negative ways has kind of just spoiled it for me. I don't really care that much to continue. I wasn't really that invested. It was good while it lasted, but as of right now, there's just other things I want to pick up instead. And the last series I'm talking about in this video that I have quit is the Replica series by Lauren Oliver. I'm not sure how many books are going to be in this series, but I hated Replica. It was my least favorite book that I read in 2017. It was offensive in some ways, and then the plot just wasn't strong, the characters weren't strong. I don't care where it goes. It just wasn't, I just don't care where it goes. The end. That's it. So those are the most recent series that I feel like I've quit. If you have quit any of these series, let me know that too. Or if you've continued them and you want to make a case for them, you know, you can feel free to do that, because for the majority, I don't truly hate any of these series. It's just they didn't work for me, or I'm more interested in other things at the moment. But you can definitely try and make a case if you want to. Tell me why I should read a series or why I shouldn't continue it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you in the comments. Bye!